Well, I had to rig the camera up to that would be a Hawaiian bobblehead girl.
That's what it is.
Yeah. But it's doing the trick so far. We'll see if it holds. How far are we on this highway where we're just going in a straight line?
Probably about another 30 minutes.
Oh, we got lots of time. It's unlikely it's going to fall now.
Yeah.
You know, Russell and I, it was very nice. Thank you very much, by the way, picking me up at the airport.
Right.
It's always great to meet our clients as I go to new places. I know anytime I flew into, I remember the first time I flew into Philadelphia, Greg, one of our clients, picked me up, and I just thought it was the nicest thing in the world, you know, for somebody to take the time out of their day. And I think it's worth noting, you don't even own Cherry's Girl, you told me anymore. You don't even own the horse. So you literally, on a Saturday, got up early, came to the airport, picked me up, and now you're driving me to Virginia just because. So I do appreciate it. And,
well, you landed in Virginia, so...
Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, but you know what I mean. You're driving. Well, put it this way, just so everybody knows, how far is it from Dulles International Airport to Shenandoah Downs?
About an hour and 15 minutes, something like that.
So it doesn't matter if I live in the state or not. It's still a hike. It's a hike.
It's not a big deal. Glad to do it.
Listen, I appreciate it. And, you know, you'd asked me in the car how was I today? Not great. Not great. You know, I'm sitting in the restaurant. I met with John and a couple other partners, Janine and Deshaun, who I haven't had a lot of time to sit with. So I'm trying to talk to them just about the stable in general, and about the changes that we want to make, and how we want to, how we want the stable to be moving forward. And always exciting to see. So Nishant's a hard numbers guy, right? So it's always exciting to talk to somebody that really doesn't have any sort of connection to horse racing. His is a connection of numbers. So it's really cool to see that side of it, because I'm not an accountant, a bookkeeper, and it couldn't be any further from one. So it's always really cool to see that. And I'm trying to focus on what he's saying, what John's saying, and meet Janine, and
still wear a lot of hats.
yeah, and I'm trying to watch the filly warm up, and then over John's shoulder, the next TV's playing the Blue Jays game, so I'm peering around his shoulder every so often. I thought the Blue Jays were playing well. I wasn't very happy about leaving the bases loaded, and then obviously everything about my night last night was actually very similar to John Schneider's night last night, wasn't it? You know, when and I'll tell you why. We'll tie it all together, and we had a great conversation. You may have noticed Russell's sweater there. We're not bitter enemies. I'm not a Red Sox fan, but Yankees fan right there. Bleeds Yankee blood.
Go Yanks.
And that's fine. That's fine. I mean, you shouldn't feel bad that we put you out. I mean, we still got to make. Now, do you cheer? Now, as a Yankees fan, do you cheer for the team that put you out because you're like, well, they put us out, so.
No, you're just there. You're there. I'm not rooting against you. I'm not rooting for you. You're just there.
Yeah.
Now, if you're the Red Sox.
Now, hold on. We're there for another 24 hours at least.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
No, you still got a shot. Don't worry. We've been down 3-0 and come back and won.
Yeah.
So.
The way that they played, for them to win 2 games at home, you might say, well, they lost the first 2 at home. Game 3 and 4 were the Blue Jays. I don't know who played game 1 and 2, but, well, I shouldn't say that. The 2 teams that played game 3 and 4, the Blue Jays can win the last 2 games. The 2 teams that played 1 and 2, they're done tomorrow. And I don't know which game. So we're going to tie back to what I was saying. So I had a great conversation with Amy, and she takes all the stuff. When things don't work out the way we want it, she takes it really hard. Now, I'm in Virginia heading to Shenandoah Downs. I'm going to race for $8,000 today, but next week the filly races for a lot more. She's coming in just getting over the virus. Now, Amy had brought up Jolene Hall, who had just get over the virus and raced, and she didn't race very good. That's a fair argument. But Jolene Hall was just barely getting over it, right? Cherry's Girl's a bigger, stronger filly. She is 100%, well, let's say 95% over it. And she really only has to be 70% to compete today. Right. I'm going to drive her to make sure that she doesn't get over-competed today. Right. That will be my job today. Get her in the final and don't torture. And that's the job today. And I believe the difference between Jolene Hall and Cherry's Girl is the competition level she's in with today. Jolene Hall was racing against horses that could beat her when she was at her best.
Right.
Cherry Scroll's racing at horses that she's supposed to beat.
Right.
She may not today, but again, the job is get her in the final and don't tax her too much to do it.
Even money favorite, right?
That's right. And that's the other thing is that you can't just get away fifth and run her up the wood, or somebody may assault you coming off the track. Right? As a driver, that's the other thing is that you really need. I have to sew all that together, right? I have to make sure that I race my horse good enough to represent the people that are wagering on her. And I also have to race her in such a way to represent her the best I can.
Hold on. I gotta stop right there.
Yeah.
You actually consider people wagering on the horse?
As a driver, I always do, and I'll tell you why. So, have you, before you got involved with the stable, did you ever watch me drive?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're impressive. You must have tried really. You must have looked really hard, did you?
No. I mean, I see everyone. I notice the top drivers at every track.
So you didn't notice me then? That's what you said.
I did. No. I knew who you were. As a driver. I mean.
So I'm an aggressive guy, and when I came to Northfield Park, never in my life has anybody ever said to me, "Geez, Anthony, I don't feel that you gave that horse a true effort." I've never had that happen to me, not one time in my life.
Right.
About 2 months ago, and I'll have to adjust this from time to time, guys, because it's just the Tahiti lady's just hanging onto the phone here, dear life. I drove a favorite, and I didn't move it coming to the half. The judges called me after the race and said, "Anthony, we had some complaints about the drive you gave that horse." I said, "Well, hold on. Complaints that I drove it bad, or complaints that I underdrove it? Because one might be right. The other one, you got to give me a pass here. It's been 25 years. I've never got a phone call like this in my life." So, yes, I don't want to overdrive Cherry's Girl to suit the fans, but I have to recognize that as a driver, I'm bringing a horse in that is even money on paper, and as Logan Ebersol, who's the trainer, he's responsible to make sure she is at her best to come here today. Now, coming off of X-Scratch and being off 3 weeks, as a gambler, you have to read into that also.
Right.
Maybe that filly's not 100% today, but rest assured, if I get away fourth and run her through the inside to be third, and I pick the phone up and the judges call and say, "Guys, she's coming off the virus. I was just running her up the inside." As a judge, I just find me. I get what you're trying to do, but you owe it to the betting public to make sure that you have your horses raced too.
Right.
And if they don't, well, James is my brother. God love him, he's the best driver in Canada and has been for a long time. Yeah. He got in trouble for now they gave him 10 days for something, or 5 days for interference with Chantilly, but from my understanding, the betting public was looking for his head for not racing her hard that night. And I get that the argument is first start in an open field, this is a 3-year-old filly, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But when you're 2-5 and bet down fairly, you can't be sixth with Barry coming out of the last turn. And it's hard for someone like James to get that.
Right.
It's less hard for me because it doesn't happen very often. But there is a component of my life also when I go on the track, and maybe the horse is incorrectly bet down. But as you just said, that filly's morning line even money because she's even money the best.
So let me ask you this though. I was watching one day, and I believe Scotty, I believe it was the Meadowlands. I'm not sure where it was. I believe it was the Meadowlands. And they interviewed him, and he made the comment as the horse is just coming back.
Yeah.
That'd been off or something like that. He just said that the trainer told him, just run him around the track or whatever. Don't do anything excessive. Don't try to win. Just give him a good workout. Next you know, he was pulled off all his drives after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
By the trainer or by the? That night or from
that day? Yeah, he didn't ride anything else after that. And
I don't remember.
It was a driver's change. It was a couple years ago. Well,
I can tell you one thing. I try to look and you talk about wearing hats. I try to look through the eyes of our clients all the time, right? You can only imagine how many times I get angry emails after a race, right? And our clients are very polite for the most part and good people. You don't think I expected to get emails about Perfect Thought last night and about Jailbird Jog not getting in the final of the Breeders' Crown? When she crossed the wire, I was like, it didn't dawn on me that there was still a horse with a bye. I did somewhere in my head, but it wasn't connected to what I was thinking.
Right.
And I thought she made it in, and then it was Amy said, Anthony, Burke's horse got a bye, and Jim Oscarson's horse was 5th. Now, we're on the AE in the fall with trotting fillies. Is somebody going to scratch sick? I would say if there was ever going to be a scratch sick at any point in the year, it would be now.
Right.
You've already paid your elimination. If you maybe drew 7 or the outside and your horse isn't having a great week and is a little bit sick, whereas you might push the envelope, maybe somebody would, you wouldn't right now, right?
Right.
And it was funny because I was on a group chat text message with James, Jason, and Michelle, the caretaker, and then Dr. Grosenbacher's assistant joined in also and said, what's the plan with Jailbird Jog? Now, Jailbird Jog was scoped after the race. I didn't bring you a video last night because I was angry, and I'm still a little bit angry. And, get in with the Yankees fan, and everything's good now. So,
said, wow,
yeah.
I'm getting the call with a Yankees fan. This is just great.
Yeah. So, she scoped last night. She has an ulcer on her palate. Now, this was an ulcer that, and I'll tell you why she has the ulcer on her palate, because the way she trots, she holds her head back like this. And I remember somebody in the middle of summer, or middle of spring maybe, and saying, you got to change her gear and get her head out. It doesn't work that way. These aren't like motorbikes, right? I just can't change parts on my horse.
Right.
This is where her comfort level is. This is what's going to get her to the races, and this is the way we're going to keep her. And I remember when I was a caretaker, and this was where things started to change, I believe. Bob McIntosh, God rest his soul, he used to come to the track with the horses' hobbles out long and their heads down low all the time. Notorious for it. And everybody used to say, if there was ever a horse that, does everybody in the state drive a motorbike?
You would think so. Wow. Yeah.
It's not a bikers group. That guy right there is not a part of any bikers group. I can assure you of that.
Right. They're all Maryland tags. I noticed that.
So, and I remember them asking Bob, and Bob just said, listen, the horses should stretch out, pace fast, and be comfortable. They have their head down. It's up to the driver virtually to put them in a good spot and drive them. Oh, and again, I'm paraphrasing. And I remember you'd always see Bob McIntosh race a horse, which was rare, that raced poorly, and somebody say, I got to get his head off, and you got to get his head out, and you got to do this, you got to do that. It just, I don't really. If you have a horse with a breathing problem, then yes, okay, you should try to address it. But if you try to address it in a way where the horse has to wear an aggressive type headgear, but the obvious reaction to that from the horse will be anger, frustration, and then you get a horse like Jailbird Jog, who's been in fight mode since the day we broke her. Right? She is a bulldog.
Right.
You think you're going to teach her to carry her head out? Good luck. Right. I'd love to see that movie.
Right.
It's just all you're going to end up with is a hot, crazy horse that shuts her hair off anyway because she's just hot. It was the same thing we went through with a lot of horses.
I thought you were going to come through here.
I don't know. He might have made it through here, but he would have made it most of the way through here. They would have been picking him up in the weeds over
Idiot.
there. Yeah.
Idiot.
Like, he can catch up. That bike goes faster than every car on this road, and his friends are just up there. You know what he looked like? The lamb that lost its herd. See it take off. Anyway, Jailbird Jog ended up with an ulcer on her palate. She had it this year. She had it the day that Timmy made a break with her. And James and I had spoke about it leading up to the race. He said she was getting a little grabby and she was throwing her head. And I said, James, I guarantee you that ulcer's bothering her. So it's going to affect her airway. It's going to affect her attitude going to the gate. So you have to drive her accordingly. And you saw James look to drop her in the 5-hole going in the first turn. She started throwing her head because he had a real good hold of her. Now, I know the filly. 9 times out of 10, if you just drop her in the hole and let her ride up on that helmet the way that we train them, she'll drop the bit and let go of you. But if she doesn't, you've just put her in an impossible position where she is absolutely going to make a break. So we are in the Breeders' Crown elimination, and the reason I was tying all this in was everybody that watches baseball and has any idea what's going on was absolutely livid. Maybe you weren't because you're a Yankees fan, but as a Jays fan, I was livid when I saw Brendan Little come out of the bullpen. And here's my take on it. And we talked about this a minute ago, but Brendan Little, listen, anytime you can walk onto a major league field, you're a tremendous athlete and a great player. So I'll preface everything I'm going to say with that. Having said that, Brandon Little has the softest resume of any pitcher on the Blue Jays staff. I think that's fair. And even if Brandon Little's watching this, he'd be like, yeah, you got me. You're right. I guess.
Right.
We have other lefties in the pen. The person coming up is a switch hitter. It doesn't really matter who's coming in. Why would you ask, and I joked with you about it, it'd be like asking me to come, hey, it's Saturday, do me a favor, our driver can't be there for the Hambletonian, can you just throw your suit on and go drive that horse? Sure, I can do that. I'm maybe not the man for the job, but I will absolutely happy to do that for you. There should be someone else, but if you're saying there's not, then I will go and drive the horse. And Brendan Little is a similar position. Everyone else in that bullpen, I'm just going to say it truthfully, could have and should have probably been called upon before then. Having said that, that's hindsight. The base is loaded. The home run he gave up right away. The base is loaded. Then you bring in Dominguez. He hits a grand slam, crushes everyone's dreams, except for everyone in the stands and a Seattle fan.
Right.
Now you can walk that back and say Brendan Little shouldn't have come in. It should have been Hoffman. Well, I'm not a huge fan of, but anyway, should have been Hoffman. Take on the heart of the order. Then you bring a guy like Brendan Little in to finish off 5, 6, 7, 8, or 6, 7, 8, or you bring in Dominguez after that and finish off 6, 7, 8. But it didn't happen that way. Now, the reason I'm saying this is I can look at what happened with maybe not perfect thought because we don't have the blood work. We'll talk about her in a minute. But I can look at what happened with Jailbird Jog and say we could have done this, we could have done that. James is probably saying, well, I could have forced her into that 5-hole, and I would have been in a third over position, and I would have been in the final of the Breeders' Crown. We can talk about all that you want.
Right.
But much like John Snyder last night, as I said to you, I don't get an opportunity to talk to him. What if John Snyder picked up the phone, called Anthony McDonald at the table at the Mohawk and said, hey, Anthony, listen, here's the scoop. All right, we got Big Dumper coming up, right? And I'm thinking Brendan Little, and this is why. And what followed that was a compelling argument to bring Brendan Little in, whatever that might be. And I hang the phone up and said, John, you know what? Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Great job. Good luck. And then all hell breaks loose. But you don't get to walk it back, right? This is sports. And with Jailbird Jog, James did nothing wrong. The Philly did nothing wrong. The Ulster Palette did play a role. Yes, it played a role. The middle half of 55 and a piece on a cool evening. What I told you was 5 degrees Celsius, and what you now know is 42 Fahrenheit. It was a chilly night.
Right.
She's coming from a place that's always hot, where she races in the afternoon, to a place that's really cold, where she races at night. Her shoeing is different because the track is different. Now, every horse, for the most part in that race, had the same story I just told you about Jailbird Jog.
Right.
But they aren't Jailbird Jog. They aren't race cars. And it's just one of those things that happens. And it hurts. It hurts when that happens, but at the same time, we were just in the Breeders' Crown elimination, and one of the favorites, I believe, 4 or 5 to 1, something like that. I don't know, something.
I thought you're home free, to be honest.
Yeah, around the last turn, I'm like, a picture taken.
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, and then she gets picked off. A little bit of mucus, ulcer was present, a spot of blood, but as I said to you, when you're racing to your absolute maximum ability for a 16th of a mile, you're going to see a spot of blood. I don't care what horse you are.
Right.
So for the most part, aside from a scratch, Jailbird Jog's season is completed. She had a good year, but as one of my as a partner in her, and all my other partners in Jailbird Jog, feels like we left a lot of money on the table. The break from Yannick, a couple of bad trips with Timmy, a couple of bad trips where, and again, I'm not blaming Timmy. She's not, as you can see now, she's not a super easy filly to drive.
Right. You made it look easy when you
wow.
At Oak
She
Grove.
was at Oak Grove. She raced well, but she was in with a little different company, and she was ready to race in the Breeders' Crown that night, right, that day. So, and that was the other part. My wife's angry. She goes, we're sitting in the clubhouse, and you could have been driving the horse. My take is this: I'm a 48-year-old guy that's a pretty good driver. There are other drivers that are very good drivers, and uniquely to my situation, my brother is the best driver in Canada. And I don't want you or any of our other clients to say, hey, I don't want it to feel like I built the stable for me to drive. And I've always said that. Because that isn't what it's about.
Right.
And I don't want anybody to say, geez, I think James could have got that horse there last night. I don't know why Anthony.
They're going to say that.
Well, of course they are. But at the end of the day, I want to give our stable the best opportunity to be the best stable it can be. Right? And that part of that, a component of that, is understanding that there is other drivers that maybe would do a better job. And you and I can joke and say, oh, she raced good in Oak Grove that time you drove her, but she's not the same horse she was then either, right? She's a mature horse, she's a different horse. And it's just that. John Schneider feels just like I did. Well, no, probably a lot worse. And he's actually probably getting hate mail.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just getting a lot, maybe 10 owners that are biting their tongues and saying nothing today. But I know exactly where they're coming from.
This one here.
Another guy.
There's another one. Look at
That
this.
guy looks like he just came.
Oh, here's another one. Now, if I sit here and I just jerk my wheel, it's over.
That is the saddest looking biker club I've ever seen in my life. the one guy looked like he just come from the bingo hall. So to John Schneider, as much as it bothered me last night, and I could go on a 10-minute rant about why it shouldn't have happened, he has to live with it. And we didn't do anything wrong yesterday. It's just we didn't get the win. We didn't get in the final. Now with Perfect Thought, obviously something was up last night. It's a little more reasonable. The last one of the group there is like, nah, you guys go ahead. The Perfect Thought to me looked tired, but it is October the 17th, and Dua Lipa is a freak of nature.
Yeah.
And a true freak of nature. Ronnie only moved her like 13 times last night, and she just drove off. And it's debilitating to try and compete with a horse or a human that you can't beat. And she might not know Dua Lipa as Dua Lipa, but I guarantee you she remembered her around the 5/8 pole. I tell you that. And I would probably argue, the scope was clean on her last night, but I would probably argue when you pull her blood, you're going to find something in there. Now, because every year at this time, especially if we have the fortune to race in a big race like this, you'll have people saying there's a lot of sickness around. Well, all the babies we bought were not in the same shed row as Jailbird Jog, that was for sure. I'm not going to tempt fate. I'm not an idiot. But at the same time, this time of year is much like when you go back to school, right? Your kids are likely going to get sick, and you may actually get sick also, right?
All the time. My kids can get.
And that happens. So the 2 out of 5 for mucus and that ulcer on the palate was most definitely the difference between Jailbird Jog being very close to winning and maybe winning the race and finishing 5th. So still, I believe, one of the best fillies in the country. She's, as a lot of 2-year-old trotting fillies, has to work on the mental game of horse racing, and it's up to us to show her that. She's not bad. She's not crazy. Well, I'll tell you what. I know Megan just sent me a message, and I just read it. I didn't read the message, but I saw Tactical Mounts' name in there, I believe. Like, she was a complete lunatic at 2 also.
Oh, wow.
And it's just about, it's if they want to be and Tactical Mounts wanted to be a good horse. Right? And I see this with this filly. Totally different makeups. 0% do they look the same. But mentally, they got, and I believe it's probably the tactical landing. They have that competitive side to them. And I think the Jailbird Jog will be every bit as good a horse as her body allows her to be at 3. She could come back and be, again, one of the best horses in the country, or come back and just be a good competitor. Because we've had that happen many times before also.
Right.
But she will be the best she can be next year also.
Right. Okay.
So it leaves me waking up. I had to get up this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. Went to bed angry, frustrated. Just when I stopped thinking about the Blue Jays, I thought about the horses, not making it in the final. And the Perfect Thought one bothered me a bit because she looked a little tired to me, even though I know she wasn't. And I know that stuff bothers Megan also. The good thing is, the one thing I do want to make clear is I'm a human being too, and I might second guess what took place during the week leading up to the race. But we have very smart people that work for us. Megan and Scotty do a tremendous job. Megan is a consummate horse person.
Right.
Jason McGinnis, the guy that's gone through a lot of crap in the last 3 months, he's a very good trainer. And James was there every day looking at the horse too. Everybody that was associated, and for that matter, that is associated with our horses, loves their job and loves what they do and take it very, very seriously. And I think that's very important for people to understand too. Right. So we can all sit back and second guess what could have happened and could have done this or might have done that. At the end of the day, this is horse racing. This is what happens. And, I tried to explain this to Janine and to Sean and even John, who's much more experienced now. You don't just get to race at the Breeders' Crown. You can pay your starting fee and come and race anybody you want. But it takes a very good horse to race in October of the 2-year-old season at the Breeders' Crown. It takes a very good team to get to the World Series, right? And even though it makes me angry that we didn't make the final with 2 horses, there was a lot of very, very good trainers that I have an enormous amount of respect for that didn't race one in the Breeders' Crown this year. So I think that's important for everybody to understand. You know, we all live in our little, I forget what movie I saw it from there, a little 3-foot world where, you know, everything is important to us. But when you step outside there and look at the rest of the world through the same lens, well, we got 2 very, very good horses. And the filly I'm going here to race today, you know, I had somebody say to me, you know, why would you go? Why do you care about an $8,000 race? Well, I don't really, but I care about the one for 70 or 80 next week. And what I do care about is this filly also. And I want to make sure, not that Logan couldn't do a job, but again, you're asking, I would be asking somebody to step in and do a job that they're, maybe, it's not that he's unfamiliar with driving horses. Of course he is. He's a good driver. He's a good kid.
You just have the one driver today, right?
Yeah,
you do.
I just have the one driver. Well, as far as I know, I didn't look at the program, but I don't think there's anybody clamoring to make driver changes to have me drive their horses today. I think they're quite comfortable with whoever they chose.
I can tell you this right now, you'd be a huge upgrade of a lot of drivers that I saw there. So, yeah.
I appreciate it, but, you know, I want, and this is the one thing I'll always do. I will do my best to make sure that the stable operates properly. That's what I will do. I can't always guarantee the results that we all want, nor can anybody else. You know, every trainer that bought a horse last year and brought it to the Breeders' Crown had the same hopes and dreams that we did. Every single one of them. And unfortunately, the vast majority of them left the same way that we did last night. Angry. But there's always tomorrow, there's always next week, there's always next month, and there certainly is always next year. And our stable continues to get better. We might have raced more in the Breeders' Crown last year as a long shot, but we had 2 legitimate shots last night. It just didn't go our way.
Pan out, right?
Yeah, it just didn't pan out. So the question for Jailbird Jog, she'll either race in the final or that'll be it for 2025. Now, Perfect Thought has another kindergarten leg, the kindergarten consolation potentially, or you can use it as a prep for the 3 Diamonds, which she'll likely make the final of. It's what I was just telling you about the Meadowlands. It said it's supposed to go for 400, but I haven't seen a stake race yet that the Meadowlands posted the potential purse for in the staking guide that it actually went for, which to me makes no sense, but whatever. Let's see if we use the same scale that we have all year. It was listed as 400. Let's say it goes for 290. Still a pretty good hunk of money. And somebody says, you know, I doubt Ronnie Burke brings his filly there. Ronnie Burke didn't make $20-some million this year and $20 million every year as a trainer, not just passing over money on the road. You can be sure that filly will be there.
I see Ron Burke horse at every single level there is just about.
They just, the way they have it broke down and scaled, and I don't know, I use Weaver, Buscemi, Mark, and Mike all the time. I don't know who's scaling that stable. You know, and Ronnie was doing it with his parents long before they came along. So I don't know who's scaling that stable, but the job they're doing, it just seems like they're playing chess and we're playing checkers. It's
for
just,
now.
Yeah, exactly, for now. And
you didn't start off at the top either, so.
No, I mean, we clawed our way up from a dream to, you know, horses. You know, we were dumpster diving the first couple of years to buy horses to get horses in, and now we've got to a place where when we go to sale, and I always go back to this because it is very, very flattering, is when the breeders look at you and say, geez, I'm glad you're getting the horse because, you know, you guys get your horses to the races, and that's what breeders want.
Right.
And they could say nothing. They could say, hey, good luck, like everyone else.
Right.
But when you have a breeder actually come up and say, geez, I'm glad you got the horse, that is a super flattering comment and one that I take very, very seriously.
Right.
So aside from the Jays, who obviously lost, aside from last night's races that did not go the way we wanted, we did have some luck yesterday. Chicago Alga Park Bullway finished 5th. I wasn't happy about that, but that's racing also. Time is on my side was amazing yesterday. He was vicious good. You know, it's pretty sad. That wasn't even the Open yesterday. It was the $13,000 classic.
Yeah, I didn't know that until you mentioned.
Now it may have been categorized as the Open. I didn't look at the rest of the races last week, but it was not the Open pace. It was the non-winners or whatever. And it was actually Tim. I just thought that Aaron would go with the other horse he was listed on, and Tim was the one that called him, and Aaron said he'd drive me. He gets along really well with the horse too.
Right.
He's a nice horse, but like last week when I left with him, Ronnie was on the front with Birthday, and he wanted to be on the front. And Ronnie is the type of guy where Ronnie, when you see him in his interviews, that's how he is. Super cool, down-to-earth guy, and he doesn't want to park anybody he doesn't have to. He's not afraid to. But he made it very aware coming off the car with Birthday that he wasn't letting anybody go last week.
Right.
And I was lucky enough to get in the 4-hole and ended up first over last week with him. Whereas Aaron just kept coming with him and ended up grinding his way to the front at 1-5. And he's just such a nice horse to watch race because he does put an honest effort in.
Right.
And he's just off the edge of the Breeders' Crown type material. He's just not quite there. He's almost there. He's just not quite there. And we opted to go the easier route with him this week. We ended up wanting to go with just keeping him on the overnights and braving him up. He spent a good 2 months chasing the best horses in North America, and it does take its toll. It does take its toll. So I was happy with him yesterday. 3-point blue chip race, good too, finishing third. He kind of scooted through late, and Aaron told Tim that he thought he drove him too soft. And you have to underdrive. You have to undercook 3-point blue chip every week. Every so often, you can stretch him hard, but there has to be a lot that leads up to that. That's just how the horse is. I know him real well. Now, coming off that performance yesterday, he's probably ready to be raced on the front end or really close to the front end his next start. So he's coming back into shape. And it's more mental shape than physical shape with him, but he is coming back into shape. So we had a first, a third, 2 fifths, one with Jailbird Jog, one with Chicago Hall, and then obviously Perfect Thought didn't race well. We'll reevaluate Perfect Thought when we get her blood work back. I know that Scotty and Megan felt that 9 starts, even though she didn't race well last night, there was a lot that went into that. I think maybe in hindsight, Scotty felt that maybe he raced her hard, which, listen, it's the Breeders' Crown, man. You can't not race. You got the 8-hole, you did the right thing. I looked at the race as it was happening in real time, and I went back and looked at the race again. I don't see, Scotty could have got away 8th and kind of tried to get up for 5th or 4th, I guess, whatever. Mm-hmm. He could have done that. But the one thing Scott Zeron has never been accused of being is overly aggressive. So for Scotty to drive the filly that way, he must have felt that she could be driven that way.
Right.
And it just is how it is.
Right.
But if her blood work comes back a little bit off, we'll reevaluate and decide whether we're going kindergarten with 3 diamonds. I think a filly with 9 starts that has only ever raced bad once in her life. And again, I'll defer much of this conversation until after I see the blood work. But I don't think there's a problem with taking her to the 3 diamonds. But again, almost every part of me is saying you can't really make any of those decisions until you can come to grips with what happened last night.
Right. Well, let me ask, do you think that the week before, when Perfect Thought stumbled, in relation to that at all?
No. Somebody asked me too about the Murphy blind that Megan had added. Just it's good that you asked that. That filly trained down with a Murphy blind her whole life. She qualified with a Murphy blind on. That equipment change wasn't much a change as much as going back to the way she always was her whole life. And what happens is she'll ride that left line a little bit. If you watch her last night coming out of the last turn when she was getting tired, she got on the left line where she almost got up on top of the wheel of the horse on the outside of her. That's why that Murphy blind was there on the left side. Or on the right side. So that was always there. Secondly, the break, I don't think anybody really knows. Scotty and I, we were having a long conversation one day, and we were talking. We started talking about that. It was the day or 2 days after that break when we started talking about the race. I said, Scotty, honestly, I think both of us just got to turn the page. It really doesn't matter whether we come to a conclusion of what actually happened right now on the phone. What difference? The race is over. Yeah. So I don't know whether Randy Waples had alluded to it last night and said it looks like when the horse came back around, she kind of spooked a little bit. Maybe just lost herself and rolled off. So there's a filly that never makes breaks, ever. Doesn't wear a boot, doesn't wear a pole, wears bridle hobbles and a Murphy blind on the outside. on any given day.
Yeah, I was shocked when I saw it.
Yeah, you were too. Yeah, I almost had a heart attack. So, yeah, I don't think there was any relation to. It wasn't like she was starting to spiral, and that was the tipping point. No, I think she was very good there. Her qualifier looked very strong. But again, you're racing at night on a cold night. You want a big quarter, big half, and then you had the toughest horse in that division just inhale you and the horse that you just let go. Also, I think. But then when you look at it, she started to gap. That horse cleared to the front before Louis Deep ever came again. She started to gap a little bit. So to me, was she tired? Did she tie up? Was there something going on there? We know the good news is we know that she didn't have mucus, she didn't bleed. So, obviously Megan did a great job, because I would think 70% of the horses that you scoped last night in the paddock would show a little bit of mucus with the weather they've been going through in Ontario.
Right.
It's not normal for those horses. So the fact that she didn't show any blood or mucus is tells me that she was doing a good job. But the fact that she raced the way she did, obviously, I have my concerns, and I've talked to her about it this morning and just said, hey, I don't really think we can make any plans until we get some. So if her blood comes back immaculate, I got some questions now. Right now, do we really want to continue to race her? As one of my partners, Ron, put this morning, and very, very properly, you never want to put a horse away like that, right? You never want to end your boxing year on a knockout going the wrong way. You don't want that to happen. You don't want to wake up in the hospital and say, I'll see you next year.
Right.
You want to go out on a winning note, and the same for horses. I talk about it all summer. Who was the filly won her last start? Oh, the little filly, My Name's Sweeney. For her to win that race and then put her away, they're gone out to the field, they feel like $1 million. You bring them back and you hope that they grow from there. Well, it does go the other way. You start turning horses out beat up and tired, they don't always come back the way you want them to, right?
Right.
So this blood work, I think, will tell us a lot. One, it should shed some light on what took place last night, and two, it will likely help light the path of where she goes from here. Does she go to the field, or does she go to race in New Jersey in the kindergarten? And I think Megan, if I'm not mistaken, I did this a couple of years ago. I think you have to race in 2 legs in the kindergarten to make the consolation, unless they need you. But a lot of those horses are turned out. So I think what she's thinking is race her in the kindergarten last leg. If they need her for the consolation, race her in the consolation, which wouldn't be ridiculous, because that's your 11th start of the year.
Right.
And then you'd race her in the 3 Diamonds, which is top money earners. That's your 12th start of the year. Most horses race 12 times a 2-year-old, unless there's something wrong.
Right.
So she is 9 as of right now.
Continue
so as far as her dance card goes, there's an argument to be made to finish off her year with kindergarten consolation potentially, and then the 3 Diamonds. Yes, there's an argument to be made for that, but I think that argument can't really even be started until we see her, until we see her blood work.
Yep.
So that's what's gone on over the last 24 hours. We have my only drive is the filly here, and then I'll drive home with Lauren. Came down here to take care of. Yeah, and she's going to race. I think she races today too, if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise, she just... Is there an amateur race today in Shenandoah?
No idea.
We're going to find out.
I never pay attention.
I know that Megan, or that Lauren is here today, and I know that Logan is here. So I'm here for the filly and the filly alone, and we'll see how she races, and then hopefully she can, pick me up a little bit. I don't want to have to call a suicide helpline on my own. No, it's just I'll be fine. It's just it's that same thing. When you're in your little cubicle and bad things happen, it feels like the world's coming crashing down around your ankles. And then when you step outside and look at the real world,
right.
My health's good. And my dad always used to say that. So the sun's gonna come up one of these days, and as long as you got your health and the sun in the sky, you'll be all right. And that's kind of how I live my life. You really got to be able to turn the page, and nothing horrible happened last night. It just was not what we wanted. So today we have Cherry's girl, and coming off the virus, I'm going to be a little protective of her today. But even a highly protected Cherry's girl, if she's on her game, feeling healthy and sharp, is going to give everybody they want a little bit of a scare in Shenandoah if she gets around the track well. This is a gigantic trot filly on a half-mile track too, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that their surface is not like Delaware's.
Well, wait a minute. This is 5/8, right?
I thought it was. Somebody told me it's a half. Have you ever been here?
Never.
Neither have I. So we're
Yeah.
both coming into a blind. I told somebody the other day, because they said, you want to wear a head pole or a line pole on her? I said, well, we only wore a Murphy blind on the left in Delaware, and we're moving to a 5/8. They said, well, I don't know what 5/8 you're racing on, but this is a half. I said, are you sure? Yeah.
I thought it was a
5/8 too. I'm exactly what you're thinking right now is exactly what I thought like 6 days ago.
Yeah.
Or 10 days ago.
Okay.
So it's my understanding. If it's a lie to you, it's a lie to me. But it is my understanding that this is indeed a half-mile track that we're going to race on.
Okay.
So, bring her into the gate soft. In Delaware, I had her right up on the car, and if you watch the race close, she was absolutely crazy coming off the car because she loves to race. It's hard to believe that a filly that was so lazy and ignorant all year turned into such a fierce competitor, but she
Right.
did. And I'm going to have to bring her in slow to the car, let her trot out in her own steam, let her trot through the turn on her own steam. And once I get one turn out of the way, I'll be able to figure out what's going on from there. But we do need a solid second or third today to make it in the final. I would take a win. I can tell you that right now.
I'm sure you would.
So that's what's gone on today. Amy and the kids are driving back from Ontario to Ohio. They'll probably get home right around the same time I do, depending on when she leaves. But it could always be worse, I suppose. It could always be worse. Anyway, that is a long video. A drive with Russell. So what do you do? I should have maybe led with that.
What do? I'm retired. I'm retired. I worked for UPS
Oh, yeah.
for 34 years.
Am I the biggest package you ever delivered someone?
Believe it or not, now. We used to have, what's those things back in the day, those little home gym things?
Oh, yeah. Those things only weigh about 7,000 pounds.
Body by Jake?
Yeah.
Yeah, back then, deliver those. I had a body by Jake back then.
Yeah, you had to use it like that. Those things are heavy.
Oh my God, were they ever?
Yeah. Not like I ever bought one. I never had a body like Jake, or I never bought a body for Jake.
Same.
Yeah, but I've seen them, and they're quite heavy.
Right.
Anyway, so you've never been to Shenandoah? It looks to me on the
I've been to Shenandoah plenty of times. I've never been to this place. This used to be a fairgrounds track, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right.
Woodstock or something like
That's
that.
exactly right.
Right.
Yeah.
And but I've never been out, not to the racetrack. I've been to Shenandoah plenty of times.
What's the track that they used to have in Virginia? The
Colonial Downs.
Colonial Downs, yeah. I remember when I was a kid, it used to come up as Z because there's only one turn and they had that big chute.
One turn,
It's just
right.
a speedway.
Yeah, what's used to be that way? Vernon Downs used to be
That's
that
right.
way.
It used to come out of a chute. You're right. 100%.
That one,
They don't
that
come
one
out of the
turn
chute
mile.
anymore, but the chute's still there. I've only raced there one time.
Okay.
And I remember coming out of the track and looking at the chute where they used to race.
Right. Yeah, they used to be there.
Anyway, everybody, that is a Sunday video. Something for you to sink your teeth into. Russell and I are on our way right now to Shenandoah Downs, and then I haven't done any of your videos yet. I'm glad I didn't, because I would hate to have an upbeat video and then have it not go the way we wanted. There's nothing worse than that. Yeah. Somebody selling flowers on a rainy day. Anyway, take care, everybody. I'll talk to you all soon. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Your videos will maybe be up tonight, but definitely won't be up for a little while yet. Take care.
Go Yanks.